Kokoda villagers worried about backlash. Baroko vendors caring for abandoned foreigner. And Taiwan votes its first woman president.
This is National EMTV News with Hope Imaka.
Good evening. Thank you for joining me. This is Sunday's news. Villagers along the Kokoda Trek corridor are concerned about the backlash of the recent rape incident along the Kokoda Trek. They convened a meeting today to deal with the issue. The immediate appeal is to restore normalcy along the trek.
The recent rape incident along the Kokoda Trek was top of the agenda discussed during the gathering. The landowners comprising villages along the Kokoda Trek corridor and service providers want to find a way forward following the incident. Many of them are concerned about the consequences that could affect their livelihood. There were also others who were frustrated with the manner in which the trek has been operating over the years. Kokoda Trek generates millions for the government coffers. However, they feel they haven't benefited much from it. They want that the Kokoda Trek Authority be funded by the government to help the villagers living along the trek. Strategic advisor of the Kokoda Trek Development and Livelihood Association, Jethro Rabi, called on the government to put their money where their mouth is. He has also urged the villagers along the trek to take ownership of the law and order problems along the trek to prevent such incidents from happening again. Meanwhile, the suspects have been apprehended and are detained at the 15-mile police station awaiting trial. Mickey Cavera, National EMTV News.
An anonymous tip to the Baroko Police Station Commander's office has resulted in a security guard caught in a drug smuggling operation. After receiving the tip, a police officer dressed in civilian clothing waited for cargo which arrived on an Air PNG flight from Goroka yesterday. The security officer of a company contracted to the airport was seen signing out a bag of marijuana weighing close to 5 kilograms before taking it to a waiting taxi. Police moved in and arrested both the security officer and cab driver. They are at the Baroko police station waiting formal charges to be laid. Police have called on security companies to properly screen workers on duty at such vital points of transition. Police believe this has been happening for some time. Change is needed in the Bougainville Public Service. This is the call from the autonomous Bougainville Government Public Service Minister Raymond Masono. One issue experienced was the time zone, where public civil servants start work on PNG time and finish on the Bougainville Standard Time. Mr. Masono says this is being dishonest and called on public civil servants to change such attitudes and serve the government and the people of Bougainville with full loyalty. As the autonomous region is heading towards referendum, public civil servants must become agents of change. A delegation of 32 businessmen and women from the Philippine Chinese Chamber of Commerce and Industry arrived this morning at the Port Moresby-Jackson's International Airport. The visit comes after the Minister for Treasury, Patrick Pruich, met with the PCCCI Chairman Wong Chung Cha in Manila after the APEC meeting last year. The delegation will be in the country for a week to explore business opportunities. A week-long program will include meetings with the Prime Minister, other government departments and private sectors. This is in hope to bring investment into the country. The trip is hosted by the Department of Treasury with the assistance of the Investment Promotion Authority. Street vendors and ordinary Papua New Guineans at Baroko in the National Capital District are looking after a German-Australian man. Australian citizen Robert Botker was left to fend for himself in Port Moresby when the Good Samaritans from Baroko took him in as one of their own.
Robert Botker was flown into Port Moresby from Cairns late last year by a construction company with the promise of a good job and life. He refused to name the company but claimed he was terminated from work after 2 months because of nepotism within the company. Botker was left in the streets of Port Moresby unemployed and homeless when a family in Baroko took him into their home.
Nobody is rich here. Nobody's rich here. These people just live day by day. Yes? But every day, these people, I've never once have I begged for a cigarette. Never once have I begged for a scone. Never once. These people come to me, they see me, and they say, Robert, here's a kina, buy yourself some smokes.
Maggie Mara, Karen Rose Bill, street vendors from Boroko met Robert for the first time at Boroko bus stop with nothing but a container of water and quickly introduced him to their friends and family in Boroko. Since then, other street vendors and even shop owners of Boroko have been looking out for Mr. Botker. Robert has been living the life of an ordinary Papua New Guinean for almost 3 months now.
Street man meriplo Boroko mipla look save ostem. Mipla tu nokat mipla sa fidi mipla but lili coins we big man sa fidi pisin lang enem sa fidi mipla ya mipla sa fidi mem tu one time.
Robert Botker said he has been going to the Immigration Office, Labour Department and the Australian High Commission, but help has been slow. He said there has been a lot of negative comments made about PNG and its people. However, he has come to know Papua New Guineans as good people. He said he regards those Papua New Guineans who look out for him as family and plans to stay in the country. Happy birthday to Louisa Frank, National EMTV News.
You're with Sunday's News. Among stories after the break, Golden Jubilee for Church in Samburigi and Taiwan elects its first ever woman president. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. Tonga Prime Minister Samuela Akilisi Pohiva, accompanied by his Tonga delegation of CEO for Sports and Minister for Internal Affairs, arrived in Port Moresby today. They were welcomed by Minister for Sports and Tourism Justin Chichenko at the Jackson's International Airport. The objective of the trip is to strengthen economic ties with the Pacific Island nation and share knowledge from hosting the 2015 Pacific Games.
Tonga, who will be hosting the next Pacific Games, is in PNG to seek assistance. Minister for Sports and Tourism Justin Chichenko said the trip will see the Tongan delegation visiting sports facilities to familiarize themselves with what needs to be done in Tonga.
Huge task ahead of them, and our Prime Minister and me as Minister for Sports, we're all going to be working together with the Tongan government and with the Tongan Prime Minister to assist them in achieving their goals of having a successful Pacific Games just like the one we had last year in Papua New Guinea.
Prime Minister for Tonga, Samuela Akilisi Pohiva, says Tonga is challenged with financial and technical capacity to host the next Pacific Games.
However, we have to honour the commitment made by the British government. Not only that, but His Majesty, King to Borders.
Pohiva says they were waiting for a response from the PNG government and are now looking forward for the prospect of meeting and discussing what the next steps will be in hosting the Games. Meanwhile, Chichenko says through this trip, it shows where PNG is heading in the Pacific, and with the upgrading of sports facilities, he invites Tongan athletes to train in PNG. The Tonga delegation will meet with the Prime Minister tomorrow to discuss bilateral relations and negotiate where the PNG will assist in funding. Marilyn Diaukatam, National EMTV News.
The Evangelical Church of Papua New Guinea celebrated its Golden Jubilee in the Sembergi Valley in Eravi's Southern Highlands Province. The first missionary who settled in the area in 1956 opened up the once tribal conflict zone to civilization. The 50-year celebration was held to reflect on the past and challenges into the future. Quinton Alump was at the celebration and filed this story.
The Evangelical Church of Papua New Guinea has a long history in the Sembergi Valley. Since the establishment of the church in 1956 by Australian missionary Donald Mosley, the church has contributed immensely in health and education sectors in the area. Last week, the ECPNG faithfuls commemorated 50 years of the church's existence in Semberigi and the surrounding villages.
Some of the missionaries, they then went to Tari, and some of the missionaries then came into Erave, and then moved into Sembrigi. That happened around in 1954, 55, 56, which was like kind of expansion from Western Province into the highlands.
Families of the first missionary traveled from Australia to be part of the celebration.
And then later on my father came back and started mission work here at Sambarigi. 5 years ago I came back. My mother told me that no one had been to Sambarigi for many, many years, maybe 20 years. And I felt burdened to come back here and see everyone and let them know they are not forgotten.
The biggest thing I've enjoyed most is the honour that they've paid not only to the missionaries but to their own fathers. That's something in our culture we don't do much of, honouring, and that really touched my heart, especially honouring the old pastors, the fathers here, on the work that they've done. That, to me, that's been the greatest delight of the celebration.
A few old men and women who were around then gave accounts of the first arrival. The arrival of the first missionaries has been acknowledged during the event, and local pioneer pastors and church elders were also acknowledged. ECPNG faithful were challenged to take the Holy Word further to rural areas. Quinten Alom, National EMTV News.
And turning overseas now, a new political era is about to begin in Taiwan. Voters elected their first female president. Tsai Ing-wen heads up a Democratic Progressive Party, a stark contrast to the National Party that preceded her. Despite that, she says she will keep the peace with China.
Stella Han works in Shanghai as a consultant, but she flew back to Taiwan just to cast her ballot for change.
Although I already worked in Shanghai for 6 years, but I think the election is important to Taiwan, and I still want to feel connected to Taiwan.
She is one of scores of Taiwan citizens who have returned home for the vote, many pinning their hopes on this woman. A landslide victory for Tsai Ing-wen of the opposition Democratic Progressive Party, or DPP. She is known as Dr. Tsai after completing a PhD at the London School of Economics. Dr. Tsai is staring down an array of challenges: a stagnating economy and an uphill battle to find a way to work with China while asserting Taiwan's own identity. Many voters were angered by this viral video. A Taiwan pop star forced to bow and apologize after waving the Taiwan flag at a recent performance.
Because this election is very important for Taiwanese, that we choose, we want to come close to China, or we want to be a Taiwanese.
And what do you want?
I want to be a Taiwanese. So that's the reason why I vote DPP for the president.
So as the next president of Taiwan, what do you plan to do to assert Taiwan's identity on the world stage?
This incident serves as a reminder to me that the most important thing for Taiwan is the unity and the strength of the country. Only through strength can we gain more respect and protect our people and our democratic way of life.
Taiwan First sentiment has fueled a rising youth movement. The third force parties had a strong showing at the parliamentary polls. They are led by, among others, Huang Guochang, an activist who stormed and occupied the parliament building in 2014, and death metal rocker Freddie Lim. Colorful candidates in a boisterous election that is in sharp contrast to the one-party state next door. Taiwan is a vibrant democracy, and it's a young one, too. This year, 2016, marks 20 years since Taiwan elected its first president. After casting her vote, Stella Han flies back to Shanghai on Sunday. She says it was well worth the trip.
The president of Burkina Faso now says that 28 people are dead and more than 50 wounded after attackers stormed a luxurious hotel in Ouagadougou. A terrorist raid last Friday night at a splendid hotel, a popular place for Western aid workers and diplomats. Al-Qaeda has claimed responsibility, but that has not been confirmed.
Fiery scenes, both shocking and horribly familiar. Authorities say at least 4 heavily armed attackers, 2 of them women, storming a cafe popular with Westerners in Burkina Faso's capital late Friday.
It's horrible because everyone was panicked and was laying down on the floor. There was blood everywhere. They were shooting at people at point blank. The sound of the detonation was so loud. We could hear them talking, and they were walking around and kept shooting at people that seemed alive.
Officials in Burkina Faso say it was a complex attack. Some terrorists posing as tourists during the day before striking at night. Moving from the cafe to a popular hotel across the street. Burkina Bay forces joined by French special forces flown in from Mali and American intelligence support. Hours into the bloody siege, the security operation moved in and the shooting soon stopped. But the attack left dozens dead from at least 18 countries. More than 120 hostages were freed and many still injured.
They came in, we were all lying on the ground, and they shot at everybody. Maybe I was lucky it was just my arm.
The attacks allegedly claimed by Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb and executed by al-Murabitun, led by this man, the notorious one-eyed Sheikh Mokhtar Bel-Mokhtar. The same groups behind the deadly Radisson Hotel attack in Mali late last year. But this latest deadly attack appears to be a marked escalation in both sophistication and scale of Al-Qaeda-linked groups who are looking to stoke fear throughout that region of Africa.
Trukai Sports is next. All the details after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The Kono Peace Games has kicked off with high hopes of selecting many more raw-talented athletes to represent the autonomous region of Bougainville in future domestic and international sporting events. In line with the Kono Peace Games, Autonomous Bougainville Government's acting president, who is the finance minister Albert Punghao, speaking at the recent games opening, said a sports authority will be set up to manage and plan future games. One symbolic power already drawn down is for Bougainville to have its own sports team in future Pacific Games. PNG Hunters prospect Connie Bernard, ahead of 2016 Intra Super Cup season, has returned to his former club, the Agma Gurias. News of his return has officially been confirmed by PNG Rugby Football League.
Since being part of the PNG Hunters train-on squad, it is believed Connie Bernard has left the Hunters camp and returned to the Agma Gurias. Bernard was one of 3 players named as development players in the PNG Hunters. Although he is yet to confirm his reasons for leaving the Hunters camp, PNG RFL Chief Executive Officer Bob Cutmore confirmed that he wanted to go back to the Gurias where he was guaranteed to play. However, he is still very much in the development squad. The players in the Hunters train-on squad are now hard at work to impress coaches and managers to earn a spot in the final team for the 2016 season. The Hunters' first game will be against the 2015 champions Townsville Blackhawks on the first weekend of March. Dion Kombang, National EMTV Sports.
Women's cricket in Australia is about to take a step forward this year for the inaugural Women's Big Bash competition. PNG Lewa's captain Norma Ovasuru has high hopes to play in the Big Bash. 26-year-old had impressive season so far with the Brisbane Heat team as an associate rookie. Her club is currently ranked 3rd on the competition ladder. Hekari United came away with a close win over PK Rapatona after striker Tommy Sammy scored in the 67th minute to give Hekari 2 goals to 1 over Rapatona. The win sees Hekari United still on top of the ladder after round 7 of the Telecom National Soccer League. Shane Soroya reports.
PKA Rapatona found himself up against competition leaders Hekari United in the most anticipated match of the evening. Hekari backing up from a 4-2 win over Gigira Laitapo in round 6 of the competition under the guidance of assistant coach Matthew Whittle, who was further boosted by the return of coach Jerry Allen. PKA Rapatona, on the other hand, fielded the same side that defeated Erema 3-1 last week and gave Hekari a tough challenge from start to finish. Hekari's Wira Wama scored in the 14-minute mark of the first half, giving Hekari an early lead. The second half saw midfielder Henry Roney equalizes for PKA Rapatona with a brilliant taken free kick in the 59th minute. Rapatona held their backline defense, keeping Hekari fullback cum striker Korea Kupaiga at bay, though at times coming so close to score. However, the deadlock was broken on the 67th minute mark when Tommy Sami placed Hekari back in front by a superb strike. Hekari held on to the lead till full-time, despite counter-attacks from Rapatona. Coach Jerry Allen said Rapatona were a good side with a handful of talented players really putting pressure on Hekari's side. However, his team took every game seriously and stuck to their game plan to win and stay on top of the competition ladder.
I think, 7 games Mipla win them. But as always, Mipla always work hard. Mipla win all games. Nothing by come easy, especially in the second round. All teams by prepare hard, play Mipla. But the thing is, Mipla try maintaining form Mipla. At least Mipla win more games Mipla in order for Mipla stay on top.
PKA Rapatona coach Michael Foster was pleased with his side's performance despite going down by a goal to Hekari.
Really good game and close game. Just the silly mistakes that allowed the goals that been scored against the boys. Otherwise, I think we would have get the boys on top of the Hekari.
Shane Saroya, National, EMTV Sports.
We're wrapping up the news next. Stay with us for the weather details after these short messages.
Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
Your weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In the southern region, all centers mostly fine. Before we go, recapping our top stories. Villagers along Kokoda Trek worried about backlash of recent attack. Roadside vendors caring for abandoned foreigner. And Taiwan elects first woman president. That's the news, sports and weather for today, Sunday the 17th of January 2016. From all of us here, good night.